Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the 10 hardiest plants for your aquarium. If you're a beginner, this video is going to be great for you because I'm going to try and outline some plants that I would recommend to beginners who come into our store. And obviously I'm going to miss a few here today. These are my 10 favorites. So there's thousands of different plants that you can keep in your aquarium. I'm sure there's lots that I've missed in this video, but these 10 are going to be some that I found the easiest to grow and also the hardest to kill. I'm going to give you guys the list and a few pointers on each species to try and help push you in the right direction with them and just give you a little bit of information. So if you're new to the hobby and you're looking to get some plants for your aquarium, this video is going to be a great start for you. I highly recommend keeping plants in all of your aquariums. They just help to balance it out and turn it into an ecosystem. Plants soak up toxins in the water. Plants actually make the fish healthier. Plus, they also add another element to the tank. It's like having a little underwater garden, and I've found so many people in this hobby who are even more into plants than they are fish. So let's get into our first one on the list. By the way, this list isn't in any particular order. I rank these all pretty much the same. And starting off, number one is going to be Java fern. Java fern is a plant that doesn't grow in the substrate like other plants do. This one actually attaches itself to rocks and driftwood, and it'll have a rhizome and grow off of that. Now, I'm not a scientist, but to propagate itself, what I've noticed is on some leaves that little pups of Java fern will start to form and they'll fall off and disperse around your aquarium, and it grows pretty well. Now, Java fern is definitely not a highlight plant. It actually really does enjoy like having quite low lighting. So if you've got some pretty low quality lights or a beginner aquarium without like having high tech sort of equipment, Java fern's always going to be really easy to grow. I have run into some people, like my friend Jason, who seems to struggle a little bit with it. He's told me this himself, so I'm not dissing him. He grows a lot of cool plants, but he does say that he struggles with it a little bit, and I'm not sure why that is, because he grows some stuff amazingly. That's the case with all these plants. You're going to have success with some, and you're going to fail with some others, and that's why I recommend just getting a few and trying them out. But Java fern's great. One of my first plants was Java fern, and it can create a really cool little aquascape. It's definitely not one of my favorite plants. Like, I don't even know if I have Java fern in the fish room at the moment, but I definitely have kept it heaps over in the past, and yeah, good plant. Number two on the list is going to be Anubias. This is more of a favorite for me. Again, it's like Java fern, it's another epiphyte. So you attach this one to the rocks. I find it grows really well on rocks. You can also attach it to driftwood, and it's going to have that rhizome and attach itself and grow. Now, both these plants I find are quite slow growing. You can add some nutrients in the water and it does help them out a little bit, but they are just going to take a while, and they both enjoy low light. Anubias is no exception. The thing I like with Anubias is that there's quite a few different forms that look very different. So you've got your just a normal Anubias nana. You've got Nana Petite, which has got smaller leaves, great for little nano tanks. You've got Gold Anubias, which I absolutely love. You've got Coffifolia, which has these beautiful coffee-like leaves. There's all sorts of Anubias. Does well in low light, does pretty good in high light as well. I've even seen people get it so happy when they've got CO2 setups that it flowers. I've flowered it a couple of times, and yeah, it's a really cool little plant. I think Anubias comes from Africa, and I find that it kind of likes that moderate to hard water. I've kept it in lots of different setups. I keep it with in my little Tanganyika setup down here with my shell dwellers. And I also keep it with my neon tetras. At the moment, because it is such a slow growing plant, it is a little bit susceptible to getting blackbeard algae on it. And we'll talk about getting rid of blackbeard algae in another video. But all in all, pretty indestructible plant. Unless you've got something that's going to eat it, it's going to grow in your tank and it's going to do well. Definitely a great beginner plant, super hardy, super easy to keep. And yeah, like I said, just a little bit of nutrients is really going to help this plant out. All right, number three is going to be Amazon swords. Now, like I said with the Anubias, Amazon swords, there's plenty of different types that you can get. You can get ocelots, you get your standard Blairi Amazon swords, which I would probably recommend to start with because they're cheap. All your sword plants are heavy root feeders, so they're going to do okay without any supplementing with fertilization. Just having like fish in the tank and fish creating waste will give them enough fuel to grow, but they will really appreciate it if you add some root tabs in there. I highly recommend them. We sell them on our website. I just add a root tab every quarter to 2 months, and it really helps my Amazon swords to grow. Now, some of them can get quite large. I'd recommend Amazon swords for at least a 3 or a 4 foot tank. Some people who want to get them and have a 2 foot tank, I'd only get like one. They kind of just, if you grow them really well, they do get massive. I find they prefer moderate to high lighting. They don't grow that well in low lighting. I just find that they just take a long time and they're not that great. If you've got angelfish, they're going to be awesome addition for your angelfish tank because the angelfish love spawning on the leaves of Amazon swords, I found as well. But yeah, super easy plant. I think they're $14.95 in my store. So they're not over the top expensive and definitely a beginner plant. One of the first ones I ever grew in my tanks was Amazon swords. Now, what would be a hardy plant video without talking about Vallisneria? Vallisneria is probably one of the hardiest plants I've ever kept in my entire life. There's a few different types of Vallisneria I keep. I keep Vallisneria nana, and I also keep this tiger Vallisneria. Both species, super easy to grow. We sell bunches of it at our store again for like 12 bucks, so it's super affordable. It's got that seagrass effect, so some people like it, some people don't. I like to use it for some of my river style aquariums. Basically, you plant them in and they're gonna send out little runners like any sort of grass would. Yeah, it doesn't really need nutrients. It definitely doesn't need anything in the water, and moderate, low lighting, high lighting, it just kind of grows itself. Super easy. I've never not been able to grow Vallisneria. The only thing I find is that Vallisneria does need to really root itself into a tank. So if you've got Corydoras or something down the bottom, that's going to stir it up in its early stages of planting. Like all plants, you're going to struggle with it, but once it settles in and it starts sending runners out, it will absolutely overtake your tank. This Amazon tank behind me, I'm going to be tearing this down this afternoon actually, but I planted just a few sprigs of Vallisneria in here only a few months ago, and yeah, it's all over the tank. So super easy, definitely impossible to kill. Great plant, Vallisneria. All right, number 5 on the list is just going to be moss, Java moss in particular. At the moment, I don't think I have any Java moss in here, but super easy, beginner plant, great for breeding. I think I do have moss in and amongst my tanks. It can grow out of the water or in the water. I'll show you like a display of like how I kind of grow it. I grow it on rocks and have some of it outside the water and some of it inside the water. Super natural plant. I just recommend Java moss to people who've got like a bare bottom tank or using it for breeding. It's really good for that. It's not a super fast grower. I actually find that it prefers to grow in a little bit more of a darker environment, submersed. Java moss is great for if you've got shrimp or you've got guppies in your tank and you need somewhere for the fry to hide. If you're looking for something just like to create cover that's natural and going to grow, Java moss is great. I've grown lots and lots of Java moss in my time, and I've seen people throw it out in their ponds over summer and come back and got massive, massive clumps of the stuff. So definitely indestructible. I have seen people kill it, so it's not, I wouldn't say it's completely indestructible, but some people have a great time growing it and some people don't. That's the case, like I said, with all plants, but Java moss definitely had to make it onto the top 10. All right, my number 6 is going to be a definite easy one. This is probably one that I have in most of my tanks, and this is going to be cryptocorns or cryptocrines, crypts, whatever you want to call them. I've got a few species. I've got Wenty eyes, I have Rosen maidens. I'm not really a plant guy, so I don't know all the other species I have, but I find this plant super easy to grow. It's almost similar to the Amazon swords. In fact, I find probably crypts even a little bit easier. I love the way they look. They're great for a 2 foot tank, 4 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot, whatever you want. Even a 1 foot, you can grow a few little crypts in there. They don't grow as big as most of your Amazon swords will, so I like them for that reason. Now, they don't need highlight by any means, so they'll do okay in their low light settings. You can see this tank down here, my little stream tank, has some beautiful crypts growing down the bottom of it. They don't need highlight, and I just give them some root tabs every quarter to 2 months, and they're super happy. I think the thing with crypts is they're hardy once they're established, so it just takes a while when you get like a little tissue culture or when you get a few to start with, get them settled in, and once they settle in, they really grow nuts, and they send little runners around each plant. Sometimes when I need to like find a few extra crypts, I'll dig up a big mother plant and there's a bunch of bulbs I can take off the side of it. The cool thing with crypts is that you can have a tank with just crypts, but a huge variety of them. It's going to be an awesome little tank. Number 7, this one I find super easy. I use this in a lot of my breeding tanks, if you've watched any of my channel for a while, you'll know that when I'm breeding fish, I like to incorporate plants into the setup, especially with growing out fry and stuff. It creates micro habitats for things for them to eat on, like microorganisms grow on the plants, and it creates little hiding spots and also helps to soak up some of those chemicals from all the poop that they create. And my number one for doing this is hornwort. I sell tubs of hornwort in store. I grow this stuff like it's a weed. I constantly throw it out of my garden. I've had it in every single breeding tank, and I just float it on the top of my tank. Hornwort will grow in low light. I find it grows more rapid in high light, but it will do fine in low light. It's very susceptible to melting when you first get it. So don't be discouraged if you get a tub of it or a couple of clumps of it and it dies back, because it's just a little bit touchy like that. But once it settles into your tank, just leave it there and it will just start to explode, especially if it's got the nutrients it needs. It loves liquid fertilizers because it'll just go nuts. It's a super fast grower, so you can have like a tank completely taken over by hornwort in a month. It's a real fast grower. Personally, I've tried to grow this in the substrate, and I find that I just have way more success when I just leave it floating in my tank. So I just treat it like a floating plant. It's definitely not something I would use for like an aquascape. I mean, I believe that myself. But like I said with the Java moss, this is almost similar in the way that, like, if you've got shrimp in your tank, or if you've got guppies and you're looking for somewhere for like babies to hide, yeah, hornwort's gonna be like a number one hit. Number 8 is water wisteria. I've grown lots of water wisteria. I've grown this floating, I've grown it in the substrate. Super easy. There's a few things with water wisteria. It does like high light, super cheap, so it's easy to find, and it loves fertilizers. So I think having a tank full of water wisteria just looks poppin'. It looks so amazing, the little bulbs of it coming up and the shapes of the leaves, and like it'll even grow from like a little leaf cutting in your tank floating around will turn into a little plant. I absolutely love this plant. The only thing I'm going to say is it's only indestructible when it's got high light. It just loves really good light and does love fertilization, but definitely a good beginner plant. Not as easy as some of the other things on here, but if you're looking for a nice stem plant, I'd definitely recommend water wisteria. All right, and number 9 on my list is going to be floating plants. So there's a few here that I'd recommend. I personally use frog bit in my tanks. I find that the pieces of it don't completely take over a tank. It's easy to remove. Obviously you've got duckweed. I personally would recommend not including duckweed in your setup, just because of the fact that it's impossible to remove. Well, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to remove. And if you've got 30 tanks like I do and it gets into your system, yeah, it's gonna be like an absolute nightmare if you wanna get rid of it someday. But I recommend plants like red root floater. I find that red root floater, some people have success with it, some don't. Frog bit is an actual lifesaver and a great one. A lot of my tanks have frog bit on it. The reason I like floating plants is they just help to absorb the extra nutrients in the tank. They make it look natural, they keep the fish happy, and they let the fish know there's a water level, so they can see like the floating plants on the surface and know kind of like where the water level is, where they might not if you don't have them. The thing with floating plants is they are going to compete for light in your tank with the plants that you've got below them. So it's definitely worth keeping in mind. They're going to suck up fertilizers when you introduce them, and I don't think every tank needs floating plants, but I do like to use them in breeding tanks and just occasional, like I treat it like a little bit of pepper on my meal. I like to just keep it around the place. Floating plants are definitely top 10 hardiest in the aquarium hobby. Number 10 on my list is going to be Bulbitis. Now, this is an awesome plant. It's a little bit expensive sometimes, and it's super, I'd say it's slow growing, but I find it pretty much indestructible. I keep Bulbitis in the little tank that I got down here. The reason I like Bulbitis is it's a low light plant, looks great. It looks like a sort of like a fern, looks like something from the Jurassic period, to be honest. Very similar to Java fern, I find. I actually prefer Bulbitis over Java fern. And like I said, this list is in any order, so Bulbitis is definitely up there with some of those epiphytes, but this definitely suits like a tank with lots of rocks, a bit of a darker tank. Yeah, like lots of little delicate things around it. But Bulbitis, again, super hardy plant. It actually can grow immersed, and I've got it growing a little bit immersed in my tank behind me, but it also grows submersed great. I find it doesn't need liquid ferts. It'll appreciate them, but it doesn't need it, and it definitely does not need high light. I think if it had high light, it would probably grow a little bit better, but it does absolutely fine in low light. So those are my 10 hardiest plants. I hope that I helped you guys out. I know that there's many plants in this aquarium hobby, and these are probably just some that I would recommend to beginners if you came into my store. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.